Welcome to Bull TV. I'm your host, David Pickler. Bull TV is a monthly show that empowers, educates, and entertains while highlighting the citizens of Collierville who inspire and deliver solutions for a stronger community. Bull TV is presented by Pickler Companies and is proudly produced by the students of Collierville High School. We invite you to watch our show at www.bulltv.show, thebullnetwork.com, and CHS TV 19. New episodes air on the second Sunday of every month at 3 p.m. Central Time. On today's show, we sit down with Lisa Plath, Collierville's Public Library Director. In the show, we will discuss the new StoryWalk installation at Halle Park Lake and how this unique initiative encourages reading, outdoor activities, and family bonding. We will also discuss Collierville's library and how it promotes literacy in our community through various programs and events. Stay tuned for this look at how important libraries are to our communities and how reading initiatives like StoryWalk play an important role in preparing our children for a life of success. Lisa has been Collierville's Public Library Director for just over 1 year. She has worked at the library in a variety of roles for the past 13 years, helping to build the library's digital presence in addition to the library's core business of books. She is committed to providing early literacy experiences for the very young as well as lifelong learning opportunities for all ages. Lisa, thank you for joining us on Bull TV. I'm glad to have you.
It's a pleasure to be here, David.
Well, we're looking forward to having you. You know, as always, we like to try to begin by kind of getting to know who our guest is. And so, the tough question, in 3 words, who is Lisa Plath?
Well, I'm going to start by saying family, faith, and then I'm going to add learner. I'm 6th of 7 siblings.
Oh my goodness.
My husband Tom and I have 3 adult children, and they have given us 6 grandchildren.
Wow.
And then my Christian faith is really the cornerstone of who I am and everything I do. And then as far as learning goes, I am a second career librarian.
Ah.
I obtained my master's degree at the age of 50. And so I'm really committed to continuous learning and growing, and I really encourage other people to do the same.
Why are you so passionate about reading?
Well, can you imagine what life would be like if you couldn't read? Have you thought about that?
No, but it's hard to imagine.
How could you even function? Think about your daily life and everything that requires reading as you go along throughout your day. Reading is so critical. It's really the foundation of all of learning. And once you can read, you can really live.
Well, I could not possibly agree with you more. So I'm giving you your toughest question today. What is your favorite book?
Well, that's a really good question to ask a librarian. My favorite book of all time is a book by Jeanette Walls called The Glass Castle.
Oh.
The Glass Castle is a memoir. And it's a story about overcoming obstacles, about how adversity strengthens. And this family is amazing. It's a memoir, and you think you're reading a fictional story.
Wow.
It's a series of little anecdotes about Jeanette and her family and how they lived with their parents, who were very intelligent, but somewhat dysfunctional, and how they overcame those obstacles. And she became a journalist in New York. And all of her siblings were successful, and they were basically homeless their whole lives. One of the keys to her success was her connection to books. Her parents, because they were intelligent enough to know how important books were, always made sure she had books in her hand. So it's a very inspiring story. I would recommend it.
Wow. Tell me a little bit about the process that led you to becoming the director of the library.
Well, I started at the library in 2008, and during that time, since then, I've had 5 positions. This will be my 5th position there. And I had a great mentor. So my first position there was working at the checkout desk.
Okay.
And then I moved into the administrative assistant role, working directly for the library director at the time. I worked in that position for 5 years. And during that time, I really became acquainted with all the aspects of directorship. During that time, I was working on my master's degree. And once I obtained it, they created the digital services librarian position, because that was a critical time in the library's history for technology. And that's when I built the digital presence of the library during the 4 years I was in that position. Then I moved into adult services, and shortly after that, the director retired. She was my mentor. She was a machine of ideas. She was always challenging us to do something better for the library and improve and find new things to offer to the Collierville community. So the combination of all those things kind of paved the pathway for me to become the director.
That's a great journey. And you're so blessed to have a mentor like that to really guide your way as you went through. So as you've been on this journey, what have you found to be the most challenging aspect of your job?
Well, I have only been the library director in a pandemic. I became interim director in January of 2020. She retired in December of 2019. And so I became officially the director on March 16th of 2020.
Oh my goodness.
So March 17th, we closed the library for 54 days. And so you're right. It's been mostly adversity and figuring out, along with the rest of the world, how to deal with all the challenges, all the restrictions, and how to, at the same time, still continue to serve the public. And so that has been my greatest challenge, and we're still dealing with it today.
There's something that you have helped create that I just think is amazing, and I'd like you to tell us a little bit about this wonderful thing called StoryWalk. And tell me a little bit about how this started, what was the vision behind it, and this amazing thing. What is StoryWalk?
So StoryWalk was really our bright spot in 2020, in spite of all the adversity that we had. As you know, behind your office, you have Halle Park Lake with a beautiful, serene lake and a 0.8-mile path going around. And we saw it as an opportunity. And the children's librarian came to me and said, we need to do this. And so we just took advantage of the opportunity. We wanted to do something great for the community during COVID, for families to do outside, because people were craving to be able to do something like that. And so that's where the vision started.
Wow. So tell me a little bit about the process you had to go through to be able to take this incredible vision and create this really unique creation of what you've done. Tell me a little bit about that process, if you would.
Collierville has incredible parks, and they have very high standards for their parks. And so we knew if we were going to do this around the lake, which is so close to the library, so it was a perfect match, that we had to go through the right channels to get it. And so I started with the town administrator, and so then he directed me to all the people I needed to speak to. And the first person I talked to was the Parks and Rec director, Greg Clark. And he and Ashley Carver, the tourism director, both loved that idea. So from there, I needed to talk to public services. They were going to install the StoryWalk. And they said, sure, go ahead, we can help you. And then it was general services for maintenance. So they agreed to do the mowing around the signs. And then I needed funding. So the Friends of the Library is our funding source. And they were very enthusiastic about the StoryWalk and very excited about helping us. So that wasn't a problem. From there, I decided I needed the support of the aldermen, even though we already had the money. And so they also were enthusiastic. Each one of them, I talked to them individually. And even the Parks Advisory Board gave me the nod. So I felt that I had a tremendous amount of support in order to go ahead with the idea.
So again, I'm right there at the lake, and so I have already experienced firsthand, literally every day, I think the magic of StoryWalk. But for someone who's not familiar, take us through the process. What is StoryWalk and how can they experience it?
So if you don't know where Halle Park is, you're just going to drive up between the library and town hall, park at the top of the lake, which is, there's a little parking lot, and grab your strollers and your little bikes and whatever else you need for your little ones, and pile out of the car, and then you'll go down the hill to the path, and you'll head to the right. So you're going to go counterclockwise, and you're going to come upon black signs with double spreads of each story. A standard children's storybook is 32 pages. Now some of them are as many as 20 spreads, 40 pages. So that's why we have 20 signs.
Okay.
So you'll look for number 1. Number 1 will be the first one as you're going counterclockwise. That'll be the title page. And then you'll go along and read the story. And as you're going along, the children's librarian is so creative. She's come up with activities, questions for each page spread that you can talk about with your kids, you can participate in with your kids as you're going around the path. And by the time you get to the top, hopefully everyone will be tired. Because that's what we've heard from a lot of the parents, and the feedback is, this was great, our kids are tired, and they loved it.
Well, it is amazing, and I do a lot of walking around that lake, and every day I'll see people out there enjoying the benefits of this incredible amenity. Now, obviously you talk about this story, but you know, I'm assuming that there is some sort of a rotation when you bring new books out there. How frequently do you change out your books, and about how many books would you be able to display during the course of a year?
So our plan currently is to change out the story 5 times a year.
Okay.
I've mentioned previously it's very labor intensive. So we started with Polar Express, and that's always going to be not necessarily Polar Express, but some kind of a holiday book in around the holidays, Thanksgiving and Christmas. And then we plan on changing it out every season. So winter, spring, summer, and fall. Perhaps you were walking around and saw we had Snowy Day while it was snowing out in January and February. And then middle of March, we changed it over to In a Garden. The summer story walk is called Snail Crossing.
Okay.
And so for each season, we'll try to have something. We try to have something that's classic, but also just high quality children's literature.
Wow. Well, I really appreciate what you're able to create here, and the blend of really celebrating reading and stories and also being outdoors. What kind of feedback have you gotten from the Collierville community about StoryWalk so far?
It has been overwhelmingly positive. We'll hear things like, so much fun, best idea ever, young children reading, inspiring them to read and have physical activity at the same time. They're so appreciative. I had one mom who told me about her family's journey around the StoryWalk while we had Polar Express in the signs.
Great story.
And their family, it's a family favorite, and she said, Lisa, it was so magical because we got to the point where the little boy was listening and he heard the train, and we listened and we heard the train going through Collierville, and it just gave me goosebumps. So that's the kind of feedback we've gotten. People love it, they want more, they wish we could change it more often.
Well, you talked about one of your 3 words as being family, and it really does encourage families to come together. It could be a shared experience, and so congratulations. I mean, what an amazing idea, what an amazing, again, amenity for Collierville. So let's talk a little bit more about some of the other things that you do in your role as director of the library. What are your priorities or your major goals that you have in this new job that you have?
So did you know that the first public library was started by Ben Franklin in 1731?
I actually did know that.
So that's even before the revolution. I mean, that's how long public libraries have been around. It was subscription-based. People had to pay to get into it, and it just took off. And today there are over 9,000 public libraries nationwide. I don't think everybody really knows and appreciates the Collierville Library as much as maybe they should. So I guess my goal would be awareness and making it a priority to create more awareness for all the great resources that we have available for people, in addition to books and computers, classes, all those things, study rooms, meeting rooms that people expect from a public library. We have a host of programs for all ages. We have really increased the number of adult programs that we have available. You can have programs anywhere from home organization, financial literacy, technology teaching. We're teaching about Instagram. Before we had all the restrictions with COVID, we were getting together one-on-one with people and helping them learn how to use a device. Sometimes older people would have someone hand them an iPhone or one of their kids and say, here, you need this. They had no idea how to use it. And so we have a lot of resources, a lot of electronic resources, ebooks, audiobooks, and digital magazines available for people. So it's awareness. That's the main thing that I want to try to make as my goal.
Have a 5-year-old granddaughter, and I remember when she lived in St. Louis, one of her most favorite things to do was to go to the library. And
That's awesome.
and it's very different the way libraries work now than what they used to with the old library card. So so that's wonderful. You talked an awful lot earlier about the importance of literacy and the importance of lifelong learning. Literacy is clearly such an important part of really someone being able to function in society, being really engaged citizenry. What type of literacy initiatives does the library have right now?
Well, I would say we don't have any formal initiatives, David, but one of our biggest focuses is on the earliest literacy for children ages 0 to 5.
Wow, perfect.
We have 6 story times in a normal part of the year during the school year, and that they're all focused on literacy. The majority of them are just a traditional story time with reading, singing, finger plays, and things like that. Miss Cindy leads the Tiny Tots, and those are the babies. And part of her role, in addition to helping the kids learn to read and become comfortable with books, is helping the young moms become comfortable with parenting. And so as part of that, she's giving out parenting tips to them. We have toddler story time as well as reading readiness story time. And then we have 2 unique story times for the little ones. One is called Learn and Play, and it's a play group. But we have experts who come in once in a while and give talks to parents on parenting. And then the most unique one that we have is called Full Steam Ahead. And so you can imagine what that is. It's story combined with STEAM. So Julia, the children's librarian, will take a story and then connect it to a little science project or something to do with art. And so we have a lot of activities like that for the littlest people. And in the fall, we hope to launch something called 1,000 Books Before Kindergarten. Now what that would do is just give parents a way to log the reading that they do with their little ones and encourage that, and encourage them to read 1,000 books with their child before kindergarten to make sure they're ready. And then there would be an incentive for them at the end of that time.
What a difference that would make in the life of that child, to generate that lifelong love of reading and books. You talked a little bit about the gentleman receiving the iPad, and certainly we've all seen significant changes in technology and the way that we actually read or experience a book. You know, has that advancement been a challenge for the library? And you know, and how are y'all addressing this issue of the new way that people can deliver a book, whether it be an iPad or a Kindle or whatever?
Well, David, technology, you know, this is a challenge for libraries. but I will say that libraries have embraced it and taken advantage to the fullest. So we had, as I mentioned, a wealth of electronic resources available, including over 1 million titles for ebooks, e-audiobooks, and other electronic resources. And so people can take their devices and we can help them. And so we've taken advantage of those devices and created a way for library patrons to have them available for free. They share them, but it's a great way for people to take advantage of that technology, and libraries have definitely embraced that and used it to our advantage. Now, you might be surprised to learn that 75% of Collierville patrons still read in print.
Oh, fantastic.
25% is electronic, but 75% is still print. And that actually reflects a national average. It's the same, 75-25. So as much as it is a surge, we still have people who love their print. And we have over 125,000 titles in our building.
You have no idea how affirming that is to me, because I'm still one of those kind of people, I just love the tactile sensation of holding and reading a book, and so I think that's fantastic. Embracing new technology, but also, celebrating, the amazingness of just that book. So
absolutely.
Fantastic. So in talking about devices, in talking about these things, and you mentioned as a mom, as a grandmother, what advice would you have for parents about the devices in the hands of children as they're looking at learning to develop that love of reading?
I have very strong feelings about this.
Good.
For the very youngest children, 0 to 5, it has been proven that parents and children especially will benefit the most from reading in print. There is something about that tactile, like you said, you like the tactile. Children need the tactile in their hands to experience the page turning, learning how to turn the pages, engaging with their parents. Recently, in 2019, the American Academy of Pediatrics did a study that showed this, that it was better for the child development for children to be reading print for those very reasons. There was more interaction with the parents, more talking, better conversation, less distraction. Because what happens with the littlest ones with the devices, of course, is they get distracted by the buttons and all the other things on the devices. So I'm passionate about that.
I think it's fantastic and great advice. Thank you. Tell me a little bit about the volunteer program at the library. I know you have a great staff, but I also know you mentioned the Friends of the Library and other things. How important are volunteers for a library?
Volunteers are extremely important for the library. In 2019, we had 400 or more volunteers who gave over 7,000 hours of time.
Wow.
That's like having 3.5 people for an entire year that we had serve for free. We have volunteer opportunities starting for people at the age of 14 throughout the school year. And they do things like shelving, shifting, cutting things for children's story time. And then in the summer, we take volunteers as young as 12 to help out with the summer reading program. They get trained to do special jobs, to log hours for summer reading. And then, of course, we have the Friends. The Friends of the Library, our main arm for philanthropy. They have their bookstore. They handle all of the donations that come into the library. And they're sorting, working the bookstore, saving for book sales. Very enthusiastic group. The library relies heavily on the volunteers. They're a vital part of our operation.
So if someone was interested in becoming a volunteer, how would they do that?
They just have to stop by the library and ask. They have to fill out a little application, and they'll get assigned by the volunteer coordinator. She'll contact them and get assigned a slot.
Fantastic. So you're not full. You're ready, looking for more volunteers.
Yes, we can take volunteers, and we'll find something for you to do.
Fantastic. You talk, a great deal about the importance of volunteers, but I know that you also have another group of people that you work with, and that's your library board. Tell me a little bit about the, the role of the library board and how y'all interact together as both the professional staff and the board.
So the library board, when I first started, I've only been at this for a year. I have to admit I was a little intimidated by having a board to deal with, but they've been very supportive. We meet 4 times a year. They are an advisory board, so their main role is to advise on library policy. So when we have need for a policy change, we discuss it at our meetings, and then we vote on it, and usually the policy is recommended by me or the former director. Sometimes I'll go ahead of time and have an idea about a policy change, and I'll say, I need to discuss this and find out where we're at. We recently had something like that and decided not to make the policy change. So that's the main role of the library board. But throughout this whole year, as we talked about in the beginning, it's been challenging, and they were very good sounding boards for all the things we were dealing with this year. So I talk to them either by phone or by email on a regular basis.
Well, with everything that you've been through and all the adversity and the challenges that you've had to overcome, what do you think has been the greatest lesson that you've learned in your little bit over a year as the director?
I think the greatest thing I've learned this year, the lesson I've learned, is that the library is a lifeline for many people in Collierville. We were closed for 54 days in the spring. We were closed again in December and early January. And then, of course, Snow Week,
Of course.
we were closed. And it's funny because during that week, we received phone calls at the libraries. A few of us were there. I was answering the phones. And an older gentleman called, and he wanted to know if we were open. And I said, well, we don't really have the staff here. We're not open, but we're taking calls. And he said, oh, I can't wait till you're open. I miss you. And I said, well, I miss you too.
Goodness.
So we realized during the times that we were closed, we heard from several people, they wanted it to be open. So the lesson I learned is we need to stay open.
I think that concept of a lifeline, it's incredible. I think it was Thomas Jefferson that said that he lived for books, and he needed books, so that's important. You talk a little bit about some of the amazing things you've done. What is the most rewarding thing that you found in your capacity of really leading the library here for Collierville?
It's really the little things, David, that we do on a daily basis. As I said, we're a lifeline. We interact with people daily. Sometimes it's part of their daily life or weekly life. And so we're doing little things with people all the time, helping them, as I said, on devices, helping them find just the right book for that right project that they're working on, or they've finished a series and they need another book just like that other one. We're helping them find things like that. Just the little ways that you watch children interact with their parents and the storytelling leader. All those little things put together. When a light bulb goes on for someone and you've helped them, and their gratefulness it's just amazing.
You know, we are here in this wonderful Collierville High School, and with these amazing students who are running this production for us. We're just sitting here taking advantage of their skills. What are the most important attributes that you have learned that we can share with the listeners, with the viewers, about leadership? What have you learned about that really would be a lesson that you would share?
Leadership in terms of my leadership is about teamwork. We work together as a team. I think a good leader needs to start by asking the right questions, talking through those questions, coming up with possible solutions, and then coming to a consensus. And in the end, you've collaborated and made a decision together, and everyone feels they have a stake in it. So I would say collaboration is the key to good leadership.
That's great. And since we are, again, working with these great students, and you talked about the importance of volunteerism, do you have a message that you would like to share about what you view as the role and the importance of service as part of leadership?
You know, service comes from the heart. And so if you are inclined to do some type of community service, for example, you should find something that speaks to your heart. And then when you do that service, it will be so rewarding for you. Now, if you're interested in public service, I was inspired by David Kustoff last year when he spoke to Leadership Collierville. He said, he was speaking to them about public service, and he said, public service is about the people. Mm-hmm. It's not about you, it's about them. Mm-hmm. So I would say to the Collierville students, if you like helping people and serving people, then find something to do, but remember it's about the people.
So you've had a very diverse career, and you've done a number of amazing things. When you reflect on your career, and hopefully even down the road, you know, when you look back on your career after many years of great service, what would you like to be your legacy?
It may be a little too early to tell exactly, but because I am passionate, as I said in the beginning, about continuous learning, I will say at this point, I hope I'm remembered for supporting lifelong learning. The Collierville Library is open to everyone, ages 0 to 120. So that, I would like that to be my legacy.
That would be an amazing legacy. Well, Lisa, I want to thank you so very much for joining us on Bull TV. This is really all about really shining a light on the amazing things in Collierville, and I think you have given us a tremendous look into not only the mission of the library, but really the light it shines upon the lives of so many people in this community. So thank you very much for what you do.
Thank you, David.
There may be no greater responsibility of society than to ensure its children learn to read. Margaret Fuller said, "Today a reader, tomorrow a leader." Literacy is the door that unlocks a world of possibilities. Alice Hoffman said that books may well be the only true magic. And Frederick Douglass wisely said, "Once you learn to read, you will forever be free." As leaders in our community, we must ensure that every child is given the gift of literacy and hopefully the love of books. Kofi Annan said, "Literacy is the bridge from misery to hope." But perhaps my favorite quote is from Garrison Keillor, who said, "A book is a gift that you can open again and again." One of my favorite times every year has been Read Across America Week, where we celebrate reading around the birthday of Dr. Seuss. Each year I would go into classrooms across our community, often dressed as a certain cat in the hat, to read to school children. I would often describe reading as a journey into imagination, into a world where you can go anywhere or be anything. Reading is the ultimate freedom. It empowers individuals to hope, to dream, to aspire. And through reading, we empower our children to lead lives of limitless possibilities. And that is my 2 cents. We invite you to join us next month as we sit down with Tasha Holmes, Executive Director of Leadership Collierville. In the show, we will discuss this community-based, nonprofit organization and how it fosters growth for leadership in our community. Tasha and I will cover the importance of joining this incredible program and how the various experiences introduce class participants to a side of Collierville they've never seen before. With programs like Altruism Day, Education Day, and Government Day, Leadership Collierville is an invaluable asset to our current and future leaders. Until next time, I'm your host, David Pickler. Thank you for watching Bull TV, where together we deliver solutions for a stronger community.